The second week of the Modern Warfare 3 beta has started, and with that, PC and Xbox players are now given the chance to try the multiplayer out. I was able to try out the multiplayer beta for Modern Warfare 3, and I wanted to give my own 2 cents on it. What I liked, what I didn't like, etc. So, let's get to my impressions. First, I'm going to say this now. This game isn't Modern Warfare 2. That's the most simple way of saying it. This game, on a fundamental level, is not Modern Warfare 2. I understand the whole mentality that Modern Warfare 3 is just DLC. That's completely fair, with many similarities that can be picked out between the two. But in terms of how the gameplay feels, the pacing of the game, the gameplay loop, etc., it's not Modern Warfare 2. Now, what are the things I liked about the beta? Firstly, the maps. With the 5 6v6 maps we were able to play, with them being Rust, The State, Skid Row, Ravella, and High Rise, I was able to get a good idea how these maps, which are all originally from the OG Modern Warfare 2, would play out in a more current COD title. Personally, it was fun playing these classics in a newer game, especially since it had been many years since I last played these maps. Playing these maps in a new engine gave me a huge feeling of nostalgia, which I'm sure is what developers were aiming for. I also played Ground War, which to me feels like a mixture of Modern Warfare 19's Ground War and Modern Warfare 2's Ground War mode, seeming to bring the better parts from the two-game Ground War mode. Overall, it was enjoyable. Nothing completely game-changing, just a game mode I enjoyed to see continue on to the next title. Next is the movement, which is one of the biggest things that they were marketing for this game. To me, the movement felt fast, but not so fast where I felt like I was getting a damn headache trying to keep track of someone. Seeming to hit that sweet spot between Modern Warfare 19 and Vanguard's movement, it felt more refined than Vanguard, but didn't go to the same level as Modern Warfare 19. It felt pretty fluid and didn't take me too long to get used to it. The movement does feel a little cartoony, like in Modern Warfare 2, with them both sharing the same engine, probably being the reason for it, but it's not as restrictive as in Modern Warfare 2. But I wouldn't go as far to say it's as free or as cheesy like the movement mechanics in Modern Warfare 19. A pretty good middle ground in my opinion. Next is a TTK, which honestly I'm a fan of. At times, it can be a little too slow, but it gives more of an emphasis on gun accuracy, making the consist and more accurate players excel more in the game, which to me illustrates more gun skill rather than which player shot first, with the latter having a presence in Modern Warfare 2 and to some degree Modern Warfare 19 as well. The higher TTK makes me feel like I have more significant chance to be able to react, shoot the other player, maybe get the kill, and not die, especially in situations where the other player's only way to get kills is to camp. In Modern Warfare 2, you didn't have that opportunity. It was only the situation of who shot first in the engagement. I'm on board for finding a balance with the higher TTK that could reward a player with more accurate shot. Now for the multiplayer for Modern Warfare 3. We've had some mechanics that aren't necessarily new, but are mechanics we've had missing since the last one or couple titles so far. First are the perks. Even though they are introduced in Modern Warfare 3 as gear, for example, boots, gloves, vests, etc., fundamentally, they act the same as perks usually do mechanically, more akin to COD titles before the most recent Modern Warfare 2. So instead of perks progressively unlocking during a match, we're back to being able to use them off rip. They've also changed the minimap back to how it worked in prior titles, which fans have been asking for this change for years now. Map voting's back, and even though Treyarch had this mechanic in Cold War back in 2021, neither Sledgehammer nor Infinity Ward have had this system since Modern Warfare 2019. Another thing fans have been asking to return. With all these mechanics being brought back, so has the idea of a bit of normalcy returning to Call of Duty. I know that statement seems a bit odd, since COD's form of normalcy has changed since the Warzone era games begun with Modern Warfare 2019. But it's nice to have these mechanics back again in the most recent Call of Duty. So far, these are quite a bit of positives from the beta based on my own experience, with many of them being fairly simple changes all in all. But just like these past betas, there are also some negatives, or at the very least issues that I think they should try to change before the full launch of Modern Warfare 3. Returning to the topic of maps, my biggest issue from the beta that I think should be addressed is the spawns and the spawn logic in itself. At times, it can be pretty horrendous. A map that I think this issue was more apparent on was High Rise, with every mode on that map feeling like free-for-all in a matter of its own spawn. I had matches where I would be killed in front of the offices and cafe areas and then be spawned back in those same offices right next where I died, causing me and other teammates to be essentially trapped. As well as in Domination on High Rise, they have you spawn in similar spots as well as underground a lot, usually in areas directly below where the enemy player killed you at. This is one of those things that I'm sure that Sledgehammer will be able to address and fix weeks before the full launch, with them getting a larger amount of data from the betas compared to in-house sessions from prior aforementioned betas. The other big gripe I have with the game is the visibility itself. I've had plenty of moments where I would shoot at my teammates, thinking they were the enemy players, or the complete opposite, where I mistook an enemy player for a teammate. They have done some adjustments to this, comparing from the first beta to the second, with having more visible diamond-like icons above the enemy's head, but I think they need to do a little bit more adjusting to it to help hit that sweet spot. Probably adding in or making the player's name tags more apparent. Despite the visibility and spawns being things I have the biggest issue with, overall, I'm very positive about what I've played so far. I'm actually excited for the launch of MW3, and also to see how the game will perform as its life cycle goes on. As long as Sledgehammer is able to respond to bugs and issues similar to how they've done it throughout the 2 betas, I think that will help with them getting some goodwill with the community again, especially since how Vanguard was treated before, during, and after launch. Those are my thoughts on the beta, both the positive and the negatives. If you agreed with my thoughts, give it a like. If you didn't and think I'm a dumbass, give it a dislike. Comment, subscribe if you like what you see. I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.